Moving to paragraph 33, one is highlighting the fact that the PKTT as an operational level or operational wing of this intervention, its work was overseen by the National Steering Committee at national level, the IMC, as well as the Presidency of South Africa, of the Republic of South Africa, that had established the Interministerial Committee.
And what do you mean by overseen in this context?
The overseen by the National Steering Committee, I'm referring to the fact that the resources that were deployed in the PKTT since July 2028 were no longer the provincial resources, but were national resources. That is why then the National Steering Committee had to oversee and account for the deployment of those resources.
Thank you. Thank you. Can you conclude then on paragraph 34?
Thank you, Commissioners. In conclusion, the PKTT that was operating in KwaZulu-Natal under my direct supervision, as well as Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi as the Provincial Commissioner, focused on addressing politically motivated incidents in that province of KwaZulu-Natal, as I've said, directed by the National Steering Committee and then accountable to the Interministerial Committee as well as to the President. And then in the Eastern Cape, the PKTT investigated crimes within the University of Fort Hare as designated or directed by the National Commissioner.
General, what does that entail? PKTT operates primarily in KwaZulu-Natal under my supervision. What does that supervision entail? As I understood your earlier answer, you were based in Pretoria and the PKTT operated in KZN initially. So what was the nature of your supervision of the PKTT? Was it merely reporting or what did it involve exactly?
Yes, one of the, thanks Commissioners, one of the good practices that we have implemented in the political killings task team is to improve on accountability, which talks to continuous reporting. I will explain that when I get to the reporting structures, but it means that even if you are not physically in the operational area, you are still supervising and giving guidance because you are getting daily reports that are talking to the activities as well as the feedback on each and every activity.
So practically, how would you do that if you are in Pretoria?
Based in Pretoria, I still receive those daily reports. I'm still able to guide the investigations with continuous interaction with the commander, operational commander that is on the ground, and then I'll do visits now and again if there is a need. But then there are those periodical visits that one will pay to the team.
General, the minister, you say at the time the minister was Minister Cele when the PKTT was established. In your recollection, did Minister Cele, outside of the IMC, the Interministerial Committee, did he give any directions to the PKTT, instructions or guidance outside of the component of the IMC?
According to my recollection and my knowledge as I've been there, there were no instructions that will come from the minister as a chair. The chair as well as the IMC, they will receive the progress report from the political killings task team on continuous basis.
Thank you. General, we're going to be going through a section now. You deal with the issue of reporting structures. As you do so, could you provide the Commission with information as to how often these structures reported to each other and what the reporting line was? So you would begin now at paragraph 35.
Thank you, Commissioners. From paragraph 35, where we are talking to the reporting structures of the political killings task team, as it's always, or it's part of the 5-pillar approach, that you first determine the operational area. In this case, the mission or operational area was the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Now, for the proper implementation of the strategy, it has got that requirement that you need to cut your mission area into small, manageable parts, so as then you are able to be everywhere. It is taking the mode of, I will refer to the SAPS, the organization that I know very well, that is represented or that is managed at national level, but represented then up to grassroots or station level. So our approach in this project was the same. We determined the whole province as the mission area as it was affected by these incidents, and then we divided the province into 4 parts, which are the south coast of the province, the north coast, the Midlands, and the central part. And then we had to put then those small manageable teams in those areas that will be responsible for the daily activities which are reported on daily basis at the Mission Area Coordination Center that is, or that was situated then at the provincial office.
So did those smaller units, the Tactical Joint Operational Centers, report to the Mission Area Joint Operational Center? Or how did that work and how often?
As I indicated, Commissioners, earlier on, that we were and are still implementing the analysis-led investigation. So at the mission area, head office level, we will have then the commanders that are experts on each and every part of, firstly, analysis. The different parts of analysis, there will be commanders at a mission area level, as well as the commander of investigations, that they will sit then at that head office level to give guidance to these 4 teams. But the same structure and expertise that are found at mission area level will be duplicated at all tactical level, those 4 small manageable structures, so as then they are able to give guidance also at that level.
Thank you. I'm just trying to get a sense of practically how that would work. I understand what you're saying about giving guidance, but practically, how would that work? How often would they meet, for example?
Okay. Thank you, Commissioners. As I've indicated earlier on that one of the best practices or pillars of this approach, firstly, it emphasizes more on command and control. It emphasizes more on discipline. It emphasizes more on accountability, irrespective of the level. You may be at a very lower level of SAPS, but you are still accountable for each and every action or tasking or activity that is expected of you. So that is done on daily basis at a tactical level. And then on daily basis, the commanders there will submit the report at mission area, head office level. So the mission area is moving together with these 4 teams continuously or daily. And then once a week, then they will have that extended mission area meeting where the 4 commanders will sit with the commanders at mission area level to plan for the week or month. In other words, they will be giving the medium-term directives so as then at tactical level, then they are able to give those daily taskings that are inputting into the medium-term directive given every week.
Thank you. So that's the at operational level, and then in paragraph 36, you deal with the reporting lines above the operation. Well, from the MAJOC upwards. So
Yes.
can you take the Commission through that, please?
Thank you, Chair. Maybe then to explain paragraph 36 properly, so I will start from where I ended with the 4 small manageable areas in the province that are reporting on daily basis to the mission area. And then the mission area, they will consolidate the weekly reports. At tactical level, it's daily reports. And then at the end of the week, the mission area in preparation for the weekly meeting so as they are able to guide the lower level. And then the MAJOC or the mission area will then report to the Provincial Steering Committee, and then and thereafter the Provincial Steering Committee together with the leader of the operation will report then to the National Steering Committee. During the years, the previous years, the reportings to the Provincial Steering Committee as well as the National Steering Committees, it was always, every time, there will be an interministerial committee. So as then all the structures from grassroots level will be having the common understanding on the progress in preparation for the reporting to the interministerial committee.
Thank you. Is there anything further on those reporting structures? If not, then we can go to the organogram.
So maybe then, Commissioners, if I may indicate the importance of these reportings. I've touched on the main purpose of the 4 small manageable teams reporting on daily basis to the mission area command structure. The further reporting, it's not only about like to the Provincial Steering Committee as well as the National Steering Committee. It's mainly to escalate the challenges that cannot be attended to or resolved at provincial or at MAJOC, at the mission area level, so as then the Provincial Steering Committee can intervene. Same applies then to the National Steering Committee that is responsible for the deployment of the national competencies. Same applies then to the IMC. I will make an example of the report that was made to the IMC, which was then escalating the challenges that were coming from tactical level, the four small manageable areas, to the mission area, and they were not successfully resolved, and then they were moved to provincial, to National Steering Committee, up until the IMC. Those challenges are contained in a letter that was compiled, citing all the challenges that are at operational level, which was then signed off by the chairperson of the Interministerial Committee to attend to those issues that could not be addressed at operational level. The letter, I'm not sure whether it's attached to my bundle, but it's the letter that was referred to under oath by both the DPP KwaZulu-Natal as well as the Provincial Commissioner KwaZulu-Natal, the letter that was signed by the former chairperson of the IMC.
I don't
I'm sorry, just for clarity, a letter that I remember that was signed by then Minister Ele, which was referred to by the KZN Director of Public Prosecutions, is a letter which, on my understanding, preceded the formation of the PKTT. General Cele, or rather Minister Cele, in that letter was highlighting all the problems, even referring to 2012 cases, I think, all the way up to about 2018 cases. So basically saying these are the problems that have been encountered with regard to all these cases. And after all the engagements that then followed, the PKTT was formed. Now, I understand you now to be mentioning this letter in the context of an already existing PKTT, and I'm a bit confused.
Thank you, Chair. As I've indicated, that the preparations, the assessment, the compilation of plans started during May, when the National Task Team was preparing to come on board. Then from May, June, July, the letter was written when the task team was already on the ground. So most, if not all of the challenges were experienced by the task team at operational level that were escalated throughout up until the IMC level.
General, would
It's a pity we don't have the letter readily at hand. I would have been very interested in its date so as to relate it to the date, of the formation of the PKTT. Are our techies in a position to show us the letter? I'm just interested in the dates, that's all.
And while we're trying to find that, would this question also be answered through your annexure SDK3, which is the information note that was prepared to report on the challenges and what needs to happen going forward? And we can deal with it when we come to that annexure, perhaps, which is quite soon. It's SDK3. Have we got it? General, the letter is now available. It might be easier for you to look at it at the screen just behind you.
Oh, I see, it's 24 May 2019, so the PKTT already exists.
Yes, Chair.
As I said, I'm probably confused. It seems, I should not even say it seems, it's clear that I was. Sorry about that, General.
Chair, if I could I pause for 1 minute I actually intended to hand up as an exhibit for the assistance of the commissioners, and I think it was going to become even more important as we continue with this witness, a working chronology. And so it'll give you a quick guide as to where the witness's testimony fits in the overall timeline of events. May I seek leave to hand up that as Exhibit CJC1? Thank you, Chair. Okay, so if we may then just revert to the paragraph where the witness was addressing the question of reporting lines of the PKTT, which was paragraph 36. And General, you've covered this, but could you also explain to us how often the IMC met? How often would there be reports to the IMC, and for what purpose? Was it for policy guidance, or can you just be a bit explicit about that?
Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. At political killings task team level, we were not privy to the scheduled meetings by the Interministerial Committee. We will get the notification as then it will be inviting us to come and brief the IMC. But based on the experience and being involved, there were meetings, one, maybe twice per year on the initial stages up until 2020 as a result of COVID-19. And then one will remember very well from our side that there was no IMC during that time. And then afterwards, and then the committee resumes to meet or to convene. So at Provincial and National Steering Committee, as I've indicated, mainly the National Steering Committee will meet now and again when there will be IMC, but most importantly, towards the end of the deployment period, and then the National Steering Committee will sit and assess the performance and get a detailed threat and risk assessment so as they are able to take an informed decision in terms of extending the project or not.
Thank you.
General, when you say end of deployment, you mean the end of the authorized period?
Yes, Commissioners.
Okay.
So at the end of each, as the end of the authorized period was drawing closer, there would be a report to determine whether there's a need for the extension of the work of the PKTT, in essence.
Yes, Commissioner, that will be the case because the National Steering Committee is made up of national directors generals that are deploying the resources. That meeting will take place towards the end of each financial year, so as then they can determine Firstly, the need for the extension so as then they can inform the IMC in advance of the extension or termination based on the current threat and risk assessment. That will be the practice then each and every financial year.
Thank you. Your next topic then is on the organogram and the structure of the PKTT, but you begin with an assessment of the work that was already ongoing by the provincial team and the challenges. So can you start at paragraph 38?
Thank you, Chair. As I've indicated briefly when I'm discussing this part of the establishment of the National Political Killings Task Team, that the IMC was formed around May 2018, and then the IMC had their initial meetings in May as well as June, when they went down to the province of KwaZulu-Natal to assess the interventions that were in place addressing the complaint or the threat or the issue that has been raised by the president. And then they received briefings from the provincial task team by then. During those two initial IMCs, where then they will do the assessment, and then one of their observations was that that task team was working in silos, and the members that were deployed in that task team, as they were from local level, they were compromised, and that more especially it did not have an investigation and prosecutorial plan or strategy. That as a result, then there was little or no progress in the investigation and prosecution of these cases, the point that I highlighted earlier on as to what is it that the National Task Team had to put in place in order to correct that situation. I touched on the plan by the Political Killings Task Team that was informed by the 5-pillar approach, which was confirmed as a solution to most of the problems that were identified by the IMC. One can add that that happened at a time, during the testimony by the Provincial Commissioner, Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, when he highlighted that the establishment of the National Political Killing Task Team coincided with his acting period in the province. And I was also seconded to the province, not for political killings, but for provincial operations in the office of the Provincial Commissioner. So the movement from the Provincial Task Team to the National Political Killings Task Team was overseen by myself. Hence, then, it was not that difficult to compile the strategy because the strategy was emanating from the tried and tested 5-pillar approach that has been proven to be successful during the wildlife trafficking interventions. Then the same plan was then implemented in KZN.
Thank you. So can I take you to your annexure SDK3, because that speaks directly to the implementation of the strategy that you just referred to. And this is the information note, as I understand it correctly, is prepared by well, you can say who prepared the information note. That's on SDK 3.
The information note was prepared and compiled by Brigadier SD Khumalo, who happens to be the Lieutenant General Khumalo, the witness to the commission, on the 15th of June, 2018.
You, in other words.
Me.
It was prepared by you. Thank you. And in paragraph 3, perhaps you could just read paragraph 3 of the first page.
Paragraph 3 of the first page.
Sorry, General, before you do that, and for purpose of the record, so that when we later look at this, there's no confusion, Ms. Hassam, at page 19, it indicates, the document indicates the signature of Mkwanazi NS, and then as you page through, unless I miss it, I don't see General Khumalo as one of the parties presenting, preparing. Well, what does it mean, General, that you prepared and yet it is signed by General Mkwanazi?
Thank you, Commissioners. The current operational or administrative guidelines in the SAPS, in line with the command and control, the compiler of the plan, because this was the plan, will not have to attach the signature on the communication of the plan. You will only attach the signature on the plan itself that will be used at operational level, because it will be your plan. But then the plan that is inclusive of other strategic decisions then will be signed by the accounting officer of that particular environment. In this case, it was the acting provincial commissioner, KwaZulu-Natal.
Commissioner Buloy, could I ask you to turn to page 22, and that might answer your question. It's not page 22 of the information note, so I believe it's the last page.
I see that.
At the bottom, it indicates information note compiled by Brigadier Escalation.
Thank you for that.
Sorry, to go back to where you were, General, you were talking about implementation of a new strategy now, right? Could you please read paragraph 3 on page, of the first page of the information note?
Paragraph 3 of paragraph 2 under background reads, the IMC in full interministerial committee met with the task team that was investigating these cases on the 21st of May 2018, and one of the preliminary observations was that this multidisciplinary task team was working in silos and that it does not have an investigation and prosecutorial plan or strategy that is aligned to the overall government priorities contained in the National Development Plan 2030, the medium-term strategic framework, and other key policy prescripts of creating safe and secure environment.
Thank you. And then on page 15 of that bundle, so 2 pages over, is paragraph 3 addressing then the proposed strategy? Is that what is being set out in paragraph 3? And related to that, is this your 5-pillar approach?
Thank you, Commissioners. Yes, indeed, paragraph 3, that is having a heading, the operational approach and concepts. It talks to the approach that I've explained of the establishment of the mission area and tactical areas, and also further on, it lists the competencies or expertise that will be needed in terms of the 5-pillar approach to implement the plan.
Thank you. And if we then turn to page, page 19 to begin with.
Can I just ask, sorry, I do apologize for this delayed question. General, in where you set out the pillars, and that's bullet point 3, and then there is a sub-bullet there, which is the second one, the second sub-bullet after 3. It's so the first one is crime intelligence gathers, and then the second one is NIU and TRT to implement. You see that? You see where I'm referring? Yes. Are you able, without disclosing anything that you shouldn't be disclosing, if there are any anxieties coming from my question, why it is that it is the NIU and TRT that are deployed for this kind of project as against the usual policing units that you may have? And I ask because they both in urban legend have the reputation of being tough, and when they appear, no nonsense. We are told to stop our nonsense when they appear. Is there a particular reason that it is these units that are being used?
Thank you, Commissioner. Maybe let me start by highlighting the difference between, on the 5-pillar approach, the proactive as well as combat approach. Proactive is your normal crime prevention capability. And then the combat one is starting from the public order policing to TRT, the specialized uniform. The specialized uniform then in terms of training. So coming back to the question as to why in this case, Pillar 1 talks to crime intelligence gathering and analysis. So that is the pillar that will be deployed in advance in any operation to conduct a thorough threat and risk assessment that will help the determination of the deployment capabilities. So in this case, and then based on the threat and risk assessment that was conducted, then it was determined that the proper and suitable level of deployment from the specialized uniform will be from tactical response units and national intervention units.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy. I think that it's a question that we will return to again as we go through the work of this team. So, General, at page 19 is the recommendation to implement the strategy that was outlined in the preceding pages. Is that right?
That is correct, Commissioners.
And the second recommendation is for a budget to be approved for the operationalization of that plan. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner.
And the amount for that budget, can you just let us know?
The estimated budget for that initial deployment of the political killings task team was at 49.1 million for the period of 6 months.
And from what budget was that to be drawn?
It was
Province?
It was going to be from the national budget as the plan and the implementation, as well as the recommendations and the request for these resources. Because the plan and the request was for resources personnel as well as financial resources. So it was going to be from the national budget.
So the request was for the budget to be approved as a national budget, and that's indeed what then followed. Is that correct on pages 20 and 21, the signatures?
That is correct, Chairperson.
Thank you. So that deals with your annexure SDK 3 and paragraph 38. I think now where your statement intends to go is to the setup of the structure of the team. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioners. Under paragraph 39, after the approval, we are indicating that indeed then from July 18, then we started then implementing the structures as I explained earlier on.
Can you then turn to paragraph 40? And maybe you could just read paragraph 40 and then we can go to annexure SDK 4.
Paragraph 40 reads thus: to enable the political killings task team to function as a multidisciplinary team, including personnel from relevant law enforcement and justice agencies, an investigative and prosecutorial strategy was developed. Such strategy is attached as annexure SDK 4.
And is this strategy then meant to address the lack of coordination between different stakeholders or different agencies within law enforcement?
The integrated plan attached as SDK 4 is now meant at improving the coordination, streamlining the activities of other criminal justice system stakeholders, as I reflected earlier on that the main stakeholder was National Prosecuting Authority, which were then part of this integrated plan.
Thank you. So if you can turn to SDK 4, and particularly after you deal with background, at page 27, you explain the objectives of the strategy. Can you take the Commission through that, please?
The objectives of the strategy, Commissioners, was to immediately attend to, investigate and prosecute reported incidents of politically related cases in KwaZulu-Natal, to implement the multidisciplinary Troika methodology consisting of intelligence gathering, crime investigation and prosecution, to ensure perpetrators of politically related cases are arrested and prosecuted as speedily as possible, to instill the public confidence as well as stability, to identify and successfully prosecute the kingpins or masterminds behind the politically related cases, and lastly, to optimize the provision of witness protection program.
Thank you. So the approach, as we're learning, is different from the business as usual approach. And that brings us back to the question that emanated from Commissioner Baloy, and specifically on page, just need to find it. Oh, no, it's fine. It's actually not in this annexure. It's in a later annexure. I'll come back to the point about the approach and the use of different agencies. Can you then take us to paragraph 44?
Thank you.
Of your statement.
Commissioners, paragraph 44 reflects to the extension of the mandate for the political killings task team. As I've hinted during my introduction, that it happened that during the year 2023, there was a complaint from the Vice Chancellor of the University of Fort Hare about the slow or no progress at all of the cases that were related to the university. And then that complaint was then handed over by the presidency to the 3 ministries who had to come up with the intervention. Those 3 ministries included the Minister of Police, through the National Commissioner. Then the extension of the mandate was extended by the National Commissioner for the political killings task team to be deployed to go and intervene by investigating those cases in the University of Fort Hare.
Thank you.
I'm looking at paragraph 44.2, General. It says, in response, I prepared a proposal for recommendation by the National Commissioner and approval by the Minister to extend the PKTT to the Eastern Cape. I just want to understand approval. Why would this have had to be approved by the Minister? I'm asking this in the context of evidence that has said on operational matters, the Minister is not supposed to be involved. Was this not an operational matter? Why would the Minister have to approve?
Thank you, Commissioners. The approval as reflected under paragraph 44.2 is not directing or talking to the Minister of Police approving the deployment. The tasks that were assigned by the President to intervene in the University of Fort Hare, Eastern Cape.
For me to understand, did the same thing happen then? That is an approval by the Minister when the 10 PKTT members were sent up to Gauteng, where we are sitting, to assist with the GCI ops investigations. Did the Minister have to approve that? If not, why not? Aren't the two comparable?
Thank you, Commissioner. No. My response will be no in the latter, and then why not will be the deployment in the University of Fort Hare, Eastern Cape, as I've indicated. It came the route of the presidency as assigning 3 ministers to intervene. Then the assistance in the Gauteng counterintelligence investigation was an operational decision after the facts and lots of consideration in terms of then the threat that was in place. So it is not, the Gauteng counterintelligence investigation is not streaming from the presidency to IMC route. It was just an operational decision at national commissioners level.
Can you maybe go to page 99 of the same document under the heading recommendations?
Page 99.
Of this statement.
No. It's page 99 of SDK 7.
SDK 7. Yes, Commissioner.
Does that assist in answering the chair's question? Remember the chair asked you, why does the minister need to approve this document?
Thank you, Commissioner. It assists a lot. This was the progress report that was directed to the president, who had assigned the 3 ministers. So it was not an approval of the deployment, but is to give progress to the president on the signature of the Minister of Police, who was one of the ministers that were assigned.
General Khumalo, could you read the sentence under recommendations, just so it's clear for the record? Because that was, in effect, what was recommended by you.
It is recommended that the minister takes note, the Minister of Police takes note of the progress report and approves the draft response to the president as attached.
Thank you. Chair.
It seems to me then, General, that 44.2 is not quite accurate. Or am I missing it altogether?
You are correct, Chair.
Yes.
Reading it together with the National Commissioner in one line, referring to this information note, is not quite accurate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Sim.
Thank you for the correction. But Chair, sorry, we skipped a beat. We would jump to paragraph 44 without dealing with paragraph 43 and annexure SDK 5. So, General, could you go back to paragraph 43? And in paragraph 43, you talk about a briefing to the IMC, which you attached as SDK 5. Can we go to SDK 5?
Thank you, Chair. Paragraph 43 reflects on the first IMC briefing that took place on the 3rd of August 2018, where it was during this briefing where the PKTT gave their first progress report to the IMC, which was for the period the 9th of July up until the end of July. During that time, the PKTT had only those 20 days lifespan, as it was formally established on the 1st of July. But then the reporting period, maybe, Chair, to explain the difference of the official establishment and the commencement. As the national deployment, it is impossible to have the operations beginning on the same day. You need mobilization week. So between the 1st up until then the 9th, the 8th, that's when then the operations started. Then SDK 5 talks to the briefing that was presented then to that first IMC of the National Political Killings Task Team.
Thank you. And then on page 51 of SDK 5, does this depict what you are saying in your last sentence of paragraph 43? That it was in that short period of time that 126 dockets had already been referred to the PKTT.
That is correct, Commissioners. Within those 2.5 weeks, the team was already allocated a total number of 126 dockets. And in page 51 of the annexure, we are reflecting the distribution of those 126 dockets in line with the plan that I explained earlier on, that we had divided the province into 4 small and manageable areas of operation. The 126 dockets were then distributed accordingly to those 4 teams.
Thank you. In the same annexure, at page 83, there's a, if you could just explain to us what are these cases that you're referring to. You've got a list of cases. Is this a report on the status of those dockets that now were within the remit of the PKTT?
Thank you, Commissioners. As part of this initial report, we had to list all the cases that were already allocated to the team, dividing them amongst those that were still under investigation, those that were at court already, and those that were finalized if there were any. So under page 83, we are reflecting one of the cases that when the team came in was still under investigation. There was no accused that was charged on that case, and as it is reflected on a different color, it was the case, I think on this report there are other 2 or 3 cases that are highlighted. That was an indication of the cases that the team had worked on within that 2 to 3 weeks and had the potential of going to court by charging identified suspects.
Okay, so the point of the highlighting is to say those are the ones that are now ready to go forward to. Those are the ones in which you've made significant progress. I just want to understand the highlight.
The highlight is talking to those where the team had made progress within 3 weeks. It's twofold. This particular case is still going to be part of my testimony affidavit. It also talks to the misinformation that has been flying around, that talks to when the team was established. This case was already at court, but I will discuss that in details as we move on.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll return to that, you say. Then can you go to paragraph 45? And this is where you...
Sorry, Ms. Hassan, if I may, before you leave entirely paragraph 44. The general under SDK 6, that's the letter from the president, and this relates to how the PKTT ends up looking at the Eastern Cape, in particular University of Fort Hare. Now, I just want to clear what might be a gap for me. We have earlier in your statement a description of the IMC, who constitutes the IMC. Now, this letter from the President is addressed to the Minister of Defense and Military Veterans and the Minister of Police, and then it's copied to the Minister of Education, and then somewhere in the body of it, I think it's paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, it says, in paragraph 4, it says, I have directed Minister Nzimande to engage with the security cluster to find more sustainable solutions towards arrest and prosecutions. This is about Fort Hare. Is security cluster the same as those people that you have described in your paragraph 28 as constituting the interministerial committee?
The understanding might look exactly like that, commissioners, but then the establishment of the IMC is done on a different directive, like this one. So the interpretation of the relevant ministers by then was then that the Minister of Education needs to engage the security cluster ministers to assist him. That was the understanding of this directive from the presidency.
Yes, I'm asking the question to clarify because if you recall, earlier I asked the question whether in your recollection or knowledge, Minister Cele had ever issued instructions to the PKTT or relating to the PKTT, and your answer was no, not to your recollection. And I think I understood you now to say in this case of Fort Hare, he did, and yet there's also, well, you said he approved the plan, but also there's the reference, it being a referral by the President. I'm just trying to see where does the IMC fit in this referral of the Fort Hare issues?
Thank you, Commissioner. In response, maybe one has to tap from experience because one was part of this process. Maybe starting by explaining the timeline, looking at the date of the letter from the presidency, which is dated the 8th of March, 2023. The 8th of March, 2023 came when the intervention was already in place. The initial complaint by the Vice Chancellor was telephonically, it happened on the day when the driver of the Vice Chancellor was killed. So the deployment and the decision and the deployment happened prior to the letter directing. So the initial decisions, operational decisions by the National Commissioner was responding to the agency of the matter as then came up during the engagement between the National Commissioner and the Vice Chancellor after the complaint telephonically to the President, which was followed later on by the directive dated 8th of March 2023.
General, that clarifies it.
And then for completeness, perhaps, so then SDK 7 is the information note that you prepared to address the extension of the mandate to University of Fort Hare. Is that correct?
I think
Yes.
it's more a report.
SDK 7,
SDK 7.
commissioners,
Yes, it is
it's
a report.
the progress report that talks to my previous explanation that
Yes.
the written directive by the presidency came after the intervention was already implemented. Hence, the response is in the form of progress report.
Understood, thank you.
Does that explain, if you go to page 97 of the progress report? So if you look at block 3, investigating team, it says national task team. Does that mean the task team was already deployed
That is correct, Commissioner.
at Fort Hare
That is correct, Commissioner.
when this report was prepared?
That is correct, Commissioner.
In fact, General, if you look at 99, page 99, the date of the report, the letter from the President is the 8th of March, and then your report is the 23rd of March. So that speaks to what you've just said, that you were already in deployment by the time the letter came.
That is correct, Commissioners.
Thank you.
And that decision was made solely by the National Commissioner. No minister was involved in the
That is-
decision to deploy
That is correct,
the
Commissioner.
task team at Fort Hare.
Yes, Commissioner.
So that addresses the deployment to the Eastern Cape. And then in paragraph 45, you speak of the mandate being extended further to include traditional leader killings in KZN. Can you just address paragraph 45 for the Commission?
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. During March 2024, the mandate of the political killings task team was extended then to include the killings of traditional leaders in the same province, KwaZulu-Natal. The operational area remained the same, but it was then the criteria of cases that was extended, The information note as per SDK 9 will give then more on this extension of the mandate.
And the extension note, the information note and the extension, this is really for for resources to enable the operation of the work on the traditional leader killings, is that right?
That is correct, Commissioners. The National Commissioner decided to extend the mandate based on the discussions that he might have had with the affected environments at his level. Hence, then it was then extended as per paragraph 5 of the SDK 9.
And then at paragraph 100 and, page 110 rather, of that annexure, the approval was for 20 million, is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioners.
Can you explain, you had requested more than that, is that correct? And can you just explain the approval of the budget?
Thank you, Commissioners. The request was for the budget for the financial year 24-25. That was submitted towards the end of March, and then the approval was granted for 20 million instead of the amount applied for as reasons provided by the accounting officer that the further allocation will be finalized then during the allocation of budget for the department for that particular financial year. So this was the approval of the first few expenditure activities before the approval of the budget for SAPS.
And that budget too was to come from the national budget, is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioners.
So in your statement, you then go to the status of the dockets at 31st December 2024. Can we go to paragraph 46, please?
Perhaps before that, Ms. Asim, if we just go back to that information note and for completeness, because this may well become relevant somewhere down the line. General, at page 109 of that information note, you have a comment. So you've got that approvals list. You're the first in that list of signatories as the recommender. And then General Sibia signs approving on the 26th of March 2024. And then you've got General Dimbane. There are notes there, and I think importantly perhaps, let's look at the second note, Ms. Hassan. That's post-elections. I can't quite read all of it. And then the general, it seems the National Commissioner comments in the next page, following that note from General Dimbane. General, if you would just read that. That's post-elections?
So it's the second bullet,
Yes.
second dash.
The second dash, yes.
The second dash, post-elections, the task team be deactivated as it has been in existence for
The last,
for the last 5 years.
Yes,
It's not quite clear,
yes,
but I think it reads for the last 5 years.
yes.
Chair.
And in the next page, where the National Commissioner approves the amount of 20 million, he says something, and I really, again, can't quite read it. If you can, perhaps you should read that into the record.
The National Commissioner, on his approval, responding to the comments by the Chief Financial Officer, states that the task team will continue beyond elections so long there is work to be done. Team cannot be localized to KZN.
Now, following this, and this is in 2024, March, April, when this new approval is given, or extension is given, has there been discussion as leader of the project? Has there been discussion internally about relocating or deactivating, to use General Dimpane's language, deactivating the team, the task team?
No, Commissioners, there's been no discussions about the deactivation of the task team, political killings task team.
Until the 31st of
Until the
December.
31st of December.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Asu.
Thank you, Commissioner Beloy. If I can ask a follow-up question on this. The information note was prepared by you, and it was approved by the Deputy National Commissioner, Crime Detection, at the time was Lieutenant General Sabia. And then, obviously, it needs to be approved by Financial Management and Administration. And that is where we see the comment that post-elections, the team is to be deactivated. So when you were engaging, I mean, did you engage with Divisional Commissioner for Financial Management and Administration on those comments, on those notes?
Thank you. My responsibility, as it's rightfully reflected there, starts with the submission. As the project leader or manager, starts with the submission to the next level, which is then the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection for his or her recommendation. And then it was recommended, and then the next step then is the financial approval, which is then the Chief Financial Officer or the Divisional Commissioner Finance and Financial Management and Administration, which then indicated the availability of funds in words instead of indicating with those comments. And then the same submission then will be then to the National Commissioner, the Accounting Officer, to give the approval. So firstly, the engagement needs to be between the two. The CFO, who is then allocating the financial resources, with the Accounting Officer, who is approving both the operation as well as the financial allocation as recommended by the CFO. So the logic for now, commissioners, will be the initial discussion was between the Chief Financial Officer and the Accounting Officer in terms of streamlining the recommendation into the approval.
Thank you. That clarifies it. You didn't have a discussion with the CFO. Thank you. So your next, the next issue you turn to is then moving away from April 2024, when this was approved for budget, to December 2024, where you explained now the number of dockets that were in your possession as at that time. Can you take the Commission through your paragraph 46, please, and the table?
Thank you, Chair. The status as well as the workload that was with the Political Killings Task Team as at the 31st of December 2024, starting by explaining the number of tables that are reflected there. They talk to the extensions that I've explained under the establishment of the Political Killing Task Team, as well as the extensions that were there. The first column talks to the political related cases that is based on the establishment since 2018 July. The cases that were allocated to the team as at 31st of December 2024 were 333. The case dockets that were talking to the mandate of the political killings investigation. And then the second part talks to the parallel cases that were also allocated to the team in addition to 333. Those are 90 cases that, as at the 31st of December, were investigated and accounted for by the Political Killings Task Team based on their request. The reason that will always be there for a parallel docket to be requested from a particular station will be either during the analysis by the team, it will come out that there is evidence that is linking the political related case with a particular case at any other station or country. It's either through ballistical analysis, it's either through fingerprints, it's either through the modus operandi and any other similarities that the team will recommend that that docket be assigned to the team for parallel investigation together with the main docket. So as at the 31st of December 2024, those dockets were 90. Then the other group of dockets, it's ad hoc dockets that were 120 as at the end of December. Those dockets are related to the task team will now and again conduct intelligence-driven operations that are mainly targeted to getting or finding the murder weapons, the firearms that are used in these political killings incidents. So during those operations, and then the team will confiscate a lot of unlicensed firearms for ballistic testing or ballistical analysis, and then some of those firearms then will be positively linked with the political related cases, and those that are not positively linked, and then the team will register. It's self-generated dockets. This will register then a docket of possession of unlicensed firearm. Those dockets were 120 at the time of this report. The next batch talks to the cases related to the traditional leadership killings in the province. As at December 31st, there were 51 of those dockets that were allocated to the team. And then the University of Fort Hare cases, there were 18. And then we are giving then the sum total in terms of the dockets allocated to the team as at the end of December to be at 612.
Thank you. So
Is
if the...
this, sorry, Advocate Hassan, General, is this the report that was presented to the Minister in February 2025?
It is part of the report.
It is. When was this report prepared? The case management docket status report. I'm assuming it is after 31 December 2024.
Yes, that's correct, Commissioner. It's soon after 31st of December, but the report was at the end of December.
So if there were 612 dockets as of 31 December, how do we come to the number 121 that we have been talking about in the Commission, that the 121 dockets that were to be handed over to head office?
Thank you, Chairperson. Commissioners, fast forward to the famous number of 121 to explain it at this stage. This is the report as at the end of December. So the number 121 became famous around after March. Then that will mean that some of the, or 4 of the cases that were still under investigation as at the end of December were now no longer under investigation, but they were at court. Hence, then the difference between 125 dockets under investigation in this report as at the end of December and the 121.
So the 121 dockets are dockets that were under investigation?
That is correct, Commissioners.
All right, can we go to your paragraph 47?
Thank you, Commissioners. Then going to paragraph 27, unpacking the stats as provided on paragraph 46, we are reflecting that the figures as highlighted under paragraph 46, they demonstrate both the scale and diversity of political related cases in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, and also talking to the systematic approach that is used by the team that I explained earlier on in order to ensure accountability on the investigation and prosecution of these cases that are involving then the political stakeholders, the municipality employees or officials, as well as officials at the University of Fort Hare and the traditional leadership as per the current mandate and the extensions of the political killings task team. Looking at the numbers that I'm talking to under paragraph 47, the 612 dockets that has been allocated to the team gradually, so as and when the case is reported or as and when the mandate is extended, as at the end of December, 600 and out of that 612, only 125 of those dockets were still under investigation, with most of them being the contribution of the late extension of traditional leadership dockets that was still having less than a year within the task team. Those are 44 dockets. But then looking at the finalized dockets, more especially those that are finalized guilty, that will talk to the successful implementation of this adopted approach. And then moving on to the paragraph 48, where one is explaining other most important facts that needs consideration instead of only numbers as reflected there to determine the successfulness, to determine the adding of value or no value of the team. There are other aspects that needs to be looked at. The team is not addressing murder cases the traditional way as it is done within SAPS currently. Where someone is killed, you go out and look for the killer, and then you try to link that killer with the evidence that you have in your possession, and then you consider as a successful investigation. As the team is approaching these investigations using the analysis-led as well as the model of investigation. As the team approaches the docket, the first phase of investigation is not directed towards finding the killer. The first phase is directed towards determining and confirming the motive of this killing as to who might have wanted this particular deceased dead, instead of asking as to who's responsible for the killing. The first part talks to who might have wanted. It is that thorough motive investigation.
Is that the so-called hit orderers that
Yes.
the National Commission
Yes,
referred to?
yes, I'm going there, commissioners. Once the motive is identified, then automatically it will come up with identification of persons of interest. That will be plotted on the organized crime blocks because the contract killing has got permanent stakeholders that needs to be there. So it will be the replacement of a spotter by a name identified as a person of interest. Thereafter, the next phase of investigation will talk now to the collection of evidence that will be directed towards the linkage of identified persons of interest with that particular incident. Hence, then that will talk to the team having a successful rate in terms of charging also the hit orderers. Those that will, under normal circumstances, will be very impossible because they are seldom present at the scene of crime. But then, based on the methodology that is in place, the team has managed for the past few years to charge some of them. Also, the other advantage that is, or the other successfulness of the team stemming from that particular model of investigation is within the motive investigation, it will be clear as to not only who wanted this person dead, also why that particular person will want that person dead. And then that's where, in most cases, also in line with the findings of Morane Commission, in most cases where the political principals or office bearers are attacked or killed, it will mainly be for fraud and corruption, sometimes for positions, but in most cases, with the current threat assessment, is for fraud and corruption. So the team then will register that docket as a motive docket to be investigated together with the murder docket, so as then the one who benefited with the disappearance of the deceased will also be held accountable. I am very slow, commissioners, to explain that part because now and again one will get accusations or allegations that are unfounded or baseless, that the team will go as far as choosing which fraud and corruption docket just to investigate outside the mandate. All the fraud and corruption dockets that are currently accounted and investigated by the team are linked parallel to the murder docket, and they are motive dockets. Also, we have seen a decrease on the...
So, just before you, that's the encapsulation of your
49.
Of your paragraph 49. So,
Yes.
and the aim, as you say, is to target the person who is ordering the killing, the contract
Yes.
killing. So,
Yes,
would it be fair to say that if you're successful in the approach that you've described, that contract killings would go down?
That will be my next explanation under paragraph, or towards the end of paragraph 49, that looking at the timeline when the team managed then to implement all the concepts the methodologies, that's when then the decrease of contract killings into the space of political killings were showing decrease in terms of the next page of 49, under paragraph 49.
So you'd like to go to the table?
Yes, please.
I think that the table needs a bit of explanation. And can you just first explain to the Commission what this table represents?
The table represents the number of dockets, not the incidents, the number of dockets that are allocated to the team as defined in the mandate in the province of KwaZulu-Natal from 2011 to 2025. Then the separation per year is for the number of cases in total versus the number of murder cases, in other words, where people were killed. So as then one cannot lose sight of the magnitude of the killing themselves. I will explain later on as to what made the team to get to that determination.
So, to be clear, the blue bars are the numbers of politically
related cases.
Yeah. And of that number, the red bar
It's the
reflects
murder.
the murders.
The murder cases, commissioners, that's correct.
And what is the green bar then?
The use of the green bar from 2018 up to 2024, excluding 2022, was just to see the periods where the killings were decreasing. But they are still supposed to be red, representing murder incidents. But the use of green is just to try and understand the decrease or increase of murder cases.
So, yes.
Sorry, General, what's LGE and NPE in that graph?
Thank you, commissioners. The LGE and NPE, LGE stands for local government elections, NPE stands for national and provincial elections. So the threat assessment has always been correct to say during those particular periods in our country where we have local government elections or national elections, will experience the increase on these cases. That was the threat assessment since that was done by the team since 2018. The 2017, 2016, 2015 backwards to 2011, those are the cases that were allocated to the team on their arrival in July 2018. Then from 2018 July moving forward, those were the cases that then were registered when the team then was already on the ground. So the monitoring thereof was talking to the decrease of murders moving forward. But then, before I get to what happened in 2022, I will explain the highest number of cases combined in 2018, which is 58. That was during the time when the policy at local government was implemented, where local councillors will be able then to be allocated some resources if there are incidents then of criminality against them. So most of these cases in 2018 were faked intimidations or attempted murder sometimes. So that's what increased the number of total cases in 2018. But fast forward.
So, General, we're going to break for lunch soon, but just to finish this point, are you referring to what the National Commissioner was speaking about? I believe he made a reference to false TR, threat and risk assessments. Is that what this is talking about in 2018?
I'm referring to the same fact that the National Commissioner referred to, which was prevalent in 2018 of those faked. Some of them will go to the extreme. We have the recent incident where the councillor was trying to burn the house, so as then that can be the reason or evidence for him being attacked. Unfortunately, he was the only one who escaped fire because he was aware of the whole plan. Unfortunately, 3 or 4 kids and the wife perished in that fire. So it's one of the incidents that are talking to what was prevalent during 2018, and it's still happening. But most of those were intimidation and sometimes attempted murder incidents.
Thank you. Chair, is this an opportune time?
Yes, let us adjourn.